Yeah. Woo.
That's awesome.
Welcome back to All Chiefed Up. I am Steve Williams. I'm here with Mike Williams. What are we going to be talking about today, Mike?
Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to be talking about undrafted free agent linebacker Mike Rose out of Iowa State. You guys have requested some defense this week, so we're going to stick to defense. If you haven't watched our last video about Robert Quinn being a possible trade target, Steve's going to link that one so you can click and watch that after the video, or you can watch that one first to come back to this one, whichever way you like. But yeah, Steve, let's get to talking about Mike Rose. What do you got, man?
All right, man. He was born May 25th in the year 2000, another young one, 22 years old. He was born in Brecksville, Ohio. He's 6'4", 245 pounds. Big boy, big linebacker there. So he went to high school at Brecksville Broadview Heights in Ohio, where he played football and basketball. Anything on his high school career, Mike?
He had 53 tackles and 10 tackles for a loss in 7 games as a senior. He was named a first team all conference there in the suburban league at his high school. He also played a little basketball, and I don't really know his stats on the basketball numbers, but I mean, obviously being 6'4", 245, that's a big guy. I don't think he was probably 245 in high school. He's probably more along the lines of like 215. He's probably like a little lanky guy, before he hit the weight room, but I bet he was a handful of a power forward.
Could have been a round mound rebound, a little Charles Barkley action in there.
Yeah, I bet.
So he ended up going to Iowa State, Mike, but who all offered him before he made that decision?
He was offered by Air Force, Ball State, Colgate, Lafayette, and Ivy League school Princeton. So again, another guy on our roster offered by an Ivy League, another smart guy. Like you can see where Brett Veach and them's minds are at when they're getting these guys, they're wanting smart kids.
He became a starter as a true freshman at Iowa State. He actually got an honorable mention to the All Big 12 conference team, and he was a freshman All-American by the FWAA after finishing the season with 75 tackles, 9 tackles for a loss, 1.5 sacks, and a fumble recovery.
Yeah, he had 77 tackles, 9.5 for loss, and 3.5 sacks. Was an honorable mention Big 12, All Big 12 in a sophomore season. So I want to say as a junior, he was also first team All Big 12 and Defensive Player of the Year for Iowa State.
When you were watching this film, Mike, what did you see that you thought was positive?
The big overall positive was obviously his size. He has pretty good speed, but I think his zone coverage defense. So whether he dropped back in zone, whether he, all kind of zone schemes is where he flourished. He struggled in the man-to-man aspects of things. And I'll just go into his cons then. It was the man-to-man, basically. And the one thing I see from him is he's a strong side linebacker. He's a Sam. So we already drafted Chanel. And so that's where he's probably going to play. So I don't know if Mike Rose pushes Chanel in that position. His big knock is he's a strong side linebacker that does not take on blocks well and doesn't stop the run very well. I don't know how many strong side linebackers that can't stop the run can play in the NFL.
True, but he does have really good block avoidance, so he can shed blocks like crazy, but he's just not good at hitting them head on. So you can notice in his tape that sometimes he's very inconsistent with his strength. Like one play, he'll look like a one-man wrecking crew. The next play, he's getting bullied around. And I think that has to do with how he plays so high. He does not get low down like a linebacker normally would. He plays very high, and I think that is a big disadvantage for him.
Right. On film, you've seen Iowa State basically protecting Mike Rose. They didn't put him in the box a lot. He stayed out. He had a lot of assignments guarding the slot and out towards the boundaries more. They didn't want to get him in positions where he was exposed. But I think in the NFL, you can't always do that.
Yeah, well, I think what you meant, Mike, was he needs more versatility. You can't just be a one-trick pony in the NFL. It pigeonholes you. You're not going to be able to get a lot of playing time. You're probably not going to make the team that way. I did notice what you were talking about with Iowa State. Once he got down in the box, it was kind of a roll of the dice on what you're going to get with this guy. So I could see why they tried to avoid that. You definitely don't want to have to be worried about that in the next level.
And you also notice at times he gets a little overwhelmed. When he's in the box, you see his head looking everywhere. His eyes are darting left and right. It's like he gets lost within the play or lost within the scheme. I'm not for sure which one. If he was in the SEC, I don't even know if he's a starting linebacker on like an Alabama or a Georgia. Let's be honest.
No, because I noticed that too. Anytime there was like a puller or some kind of a lead blocker or something like that, like he just seemed completely surprised or didn't know how to approach it. Like I know what you mean by how he was just kind of head, swiveling around, looked a little lost out there at times.
Yeah. And I mean, with all that said, I like Mike Rose. I was excited when we picked him up. I thought it was a good addition to bring in for rookie camp. It's a good addition to have during training camp. These linebacker coaches can fix this stuff. This is all fixable. It's just, is he going to be strong enough, hit the weight room, be dedicated, and do what he has to do to make the team? That's a pretty, I'm not going to say we're a solid, like, stacked linebacker room, because we're not. I mean, we've got 3 studs, and then we've got some solid players. But what do you think his probability of making the team is here, Steve? Because he would have to beat out the likes of Elijah Lee and Jermaine Carter, and those guys are seasoned veterans, and it might be tough to do.
Honestly, I think it's probably about a 10% chance he actually makes the active 53-man roster. I think he's a perfect candidate for the practice squad. He brings a lot of size and a lot of potential, but he just don't have his game up to par with being on a 53-man roster in the NFL at the moment, in my opinion. But hey, we like to do the comps here, so we'll go ahead and I'll throw one out. I do think that at his best, if they got him polished up and everything, the way he plays a game and approaches the game with his energy and everything, he kind of reminds me of Derek Johnson, and that's a huge compliment.
Yeah, if he could get to a percentage of Derek Johnson, I'd be pretty happy. I'm going to go with another Chiefs linebacker that I'm sure Chiefs Kingdom remember from probably, I want to say 8-9 years ago, possibly. He was out of California, so he was a Pac-12 guy. He was 6'5", 250, Scott Fujita. He played a lot of the weak side. He was very decent in pass coverage. He was very fast. But when you run right at Scott Fujita, you beat us. Like, Scott Fujita did not handle the blocks head on very well. He was not a dominant run stuffer. He was a liability at linebacker on running downs. That was one of the things. I mean, but we all liked Fujita. He was somewhat of a fan. I don't want to say a fan favorite, but we accepted Scott Fujita and his potential and his flaws. But yeah, that's kind of who he reminds me of a little bit.
Look, there was a period of time where Chiefs fans just had to accept the players that we had and just love them anyway, right? So I definitely know what you mean there. But yeah, Mike Rose, I think that, like I said, he has the size and the potential. He brings a lot to the table, but he's just not there yet. And maybe he will be later on. But this year, I think he's a practice squad player at best. And then maybe we'll see him progress his game and make it to this 53-man roster in the future.
Yeah, I think he's possibly a hidden gem amongst the UDFAs. He had potential. I could have seen him being drafted maybe as early as the 6th round. I think it was just, a Sam linebacker not being able to play 3 downs and hold up in the box is the problem. And that's ultimately what's going to keep him off the 53-man. But I do wish him the best of luck. I hope he makes the practice squad, and hope in 2 or 3 years, man, we found a good one that can come in and maybe give us some good depth and some starting potential.
That's going to wrap it up on Mike Rose. If you enjoyed that, make sure to smash that like button. Also, hit the subscribe button. We're at 600 subscribers right now. We want to get to 1,000 before the season starts, and we're going to get there with your help. Just make sure to share the videos, pass the word along to your friends. Also, if you missed any of the other analysis on any of the rookies and UDFAs, make sure to go back and check my playlist, Draft Pick Who Dis, and that's going to have all the coverage that you need. But thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.